Good morning, children. Welcome to Nelson's English School Distant Education System. Today, we'll begin with the chapter of grammar, synthesis, simple, compound, and complex for grade 8th. So, in grade 7, you have already learned about sentences simple, compound, and complex, but that wasn't in detail. We were only just recognizing it that whether sentence is a simple sentence, it's a compound sentence, or it's a complex sentence. This year, we'll be synthesizing simple, compound and complexes together. That is, when two or more statements are given, you have to synthesize and make it a simple statement. When two or more statements are given, you have to synthesize them and make it a compound. You have to synthesize the sentences given into a complex statement. But before we could begin with the sentences simple, compound and complex, we'll just go with the meanings of simple, compound and complex statements. So definitions. A simple sentence is a sentence that has only one and one finite verb, or in other words, you could say a simple sentence is a sentence that could be as long as 3-4 statements together, but it would only have one finite verb. Now, a compound sentence is a sentence that is made up of more than two clauses or as more than one finite verb. Here, there will be at least two finite verbs or more than two finite verbs, but they are joined with the coordinating conjunctions. So, they are called a compound sentence. As you have learnt in standard 7th, you used to find out finite verbs, and if it was one finite verb, then the sentence was simple. If it is two finite verbs, then they used to go for the conjunctions. If a coordinating conjunction was joining them, so it was a compound sentence. Okay. Other definition, in other words, you could say a sentence that has two or more main clauses. Now, this was also taught to you that what is a main clause and what is a subordinate clause. Main clause or independent clause is a clause that can stand on its own and can make meaning of it on its own. And they are called both principal clauses. Okay. So, a sentence which has two or more main or principal or independent clauses is called a compound sentence. Now, complex sentence definition in very simple words, if you can say, a complex sentence has more than one finite verb. Okay, with more than one finite verb means if two or three finite verbs, but they are joined with subordinating conjunction, then the statement is called a complex statement. If in other words you give the definition, then a sentence which is made up of a principal clause, made of one principal clause and one or more subordinate clauses is called a complex sentence. Now, there is a one main clause, as I have told you. There are two types of clauses, main clause and subordinate clauses. Okay, so a sentence that has one main clause and one or more subordinate clauses, that is the sentence which is made up of one independent clause and one or more dependent clauses, then it is called a complex sentence. Now, before we go with the simple, compound, complex, in previous session of the previous grade also you have learned finite and non-finite verbs. So children, this is very important, very basic step to start learning to change the sentences from simple to compound, compound to complex, and vice versa. Okay. So the very basic step, the very first step is to know what is a finite and a non-finite verb. So for this reason only, we'll again have a quick warm-up knowing for the finite and the non-finite verb. So finite is a verb that keeps changing with the change in the subject, tense and a person. So finite verb keeps changing with the change in its subject. If subject is, say for example, if it is in number, elephant, so it's singular, so verb used with elephant will also be singular, that is elephant eats banana. Okay. Now, if it is elephants, when number changes, so it is elephants eat banana. So the finite verb keeps changing with the change in the number with tense, present, past and future, that is I am learning, I was learning and I will be learning. So the finite verb keeps on changing with the tense also. The finite verb keeps on changing with the change in person also, that is first person, second person and third person. So it is I am happy, you are happy and she is happy. So here also the tense keeps on changing. So the verb that keeps on changing with the change in its number, that is subject, with a change in its tense, present, past, future, with a change in the person, that is first person, second person and third person, such a word is called a finite verb that keeps on changing. The non-finite verb, as the name itself suggests, a non-finite verb is a verb that does not change with the change in subject, tense and a person. Though the subject changes in the number, singular, plural. Though the tense changes, present, past, future. Though it changes the person, okay, that is first person, second person, third person, I, we, you, he, she, it, they, but the verb won't change. The verb that does not change, such a verb is called a non-finite verb. Now children, we have taught you non-finite verb also. This finite verb first we'll see. With the subject when it changes, an elephant likes, elephant is singular, likes also singular. Now children, verb, this is taught to you earlier also. The verb that carries s is called singular verb, and the verb that does not carry s is called a plural verb. So when it's an elephant likes banana, and so it becomes when elephant changes to elephants, when the singular subject changes to plural. So with the plural subject, the verb that is used is also in the plural. So the verb that does not carry s is called a plural verb. So it's elephants like banana. It also changes with the tense. Rehan is playing cricket. Rehan was playing cricket. Rehan will be playing cricket. So this also keeps on changing with the change in tense. Now when change in person, that is first person I am writing. Okay. Second person you are writing. Third person he or she is writing a letter. So these are the finite verbs that keep on changing with the change in subject, tense and person. That also you can say noun, number, tense and even person. Next is a non-finite verb. Now non-finite verb was categorized under 3 sessions, that is infinitive, participle and gerund. First we'll go with the infinitive. So the category of the infinitive was divided into these 6 things. So 2 plus verb. So the verb that comes after to is always used in its first form, or you can say it's a root verb, that is to play, to write, to give. Okay. There are bare infinitives. So the bare infinitives like let, make, bid, dare, need. The verbs that follow these words, let, make, bid, dare, need, are always used in their first form. Okay. Let him write. Make him do it. Bid him not to touch. Okay. Dare, don't touch. And need not to write. So the verbs that are used after these verbs like let, make, bid, dare, need are also non-finite infinitive verbs. Then the verbs of perception, which will give you the feeling, see, hear, watch, know, feel. So the verbs that come after these words are always considered non-finite verbs in the infinitive category. Now for fourth step, after modals. Now modals, if you only talk about modals, modals are the finite verbs, but the verbs that come after modals become non-finite. Okay. So if I can say can write, could write, may write, might write. Okay. So the verbs that come after these modals, can, could, may, might, shall, should, will, would and all, must. So all these verbs that come after modals are always used in their first form or the root form. Okay. Now in the fifth number, the verbs that you use after had, better, would, rather than, would, sooner, then will always be used in their first form and won't change. Okay. He had better dance than sing. He would rather attend the meeting than to leave it. Okay. He would prefer coffee rather than a tea. He would sooner apply for the post of a MLA than to be a simple representative. Now the verbs that are used after then and but. After then also whenever verb you use, and after the but also whenever verb you use, it is always used in its first form. Okay. Next is participle. Participle is also called the verbal adjective. It is actually a verb but works as an adjective, so it is called a verbal adjective. Now participle was also categorized under 3 sections, that is present participle, past participle and perfect participle. Present participle, now as we all know that adjective is a best friend to the noun, so whenever there is an adjective, the noun is must. Okay, so when verb plus ing is used, plus noun is there, a running train, okay, jumping monkey, rolling stone, burning house. So in this it is called a participle. So participles are burning and rolling that modify the verb nouns house and stone. Okay. And next is a past participle. The verb in its root form plus plus d, t, n, en, ed. That is broken window, wounded soldier, okay, mended house. So it's whenever the verb is broken, wounded, these two are the past participles that end in en, ed, t, d, etc. The number 3 is a perfect participle. With perfect participle, there are 3 verbs. If you remember, is has, have, and had. Okay, so here because it's participle, so having is there. So after having, the verb that comes is always used in its past participle form. Okay, that is in the third form. Having written his notes, he went to sleep. So with having, the verb that is used will be used in its third form, that is the past participle form. So participle, present participle, past participle, and perfect participle. Then there was a gerund, that is, it's called a verbal noun. It is actually a verb but sometimes act as a noun. So it is called a gerund. It is always used in its ing form. Sorry. Next is verb plus ing, as I've told you, it is always used in its ing form. Next, a gerund can have its own object because it is a verb but acts as a noun. So noun can have its object sometimes. Spreading rumors is not good. So spreading what is not good? Spreading rumors is not good. So it has its own object also. A gerund can have its own article, as I've told you, it works as a noun. So it could have an article. The swimming was over by 10 a.m. The tracking was done by the boys. Okay, so it could have its own article sometimes because it works as a noun. A gerund can have its adjective also. Okay, do you mind my using your phone? So using is a gerund. Okay, my is a possessive adjective. Okay, so a gerund can sometimes have adjective also. Then it is, I don't like his rash driving. So driving is a gerund but rash is an adjective that modifies his driving, the noun. Next is, a gerund can sometimes have its preposition. So gerund can have, because it's a noun, it acts as a noun, so it could have all these things: object, article, adjective, and preposition. So gerund sometimes can have preposition of its own. I am tired of waiting. So waiting is a gerund but tired of what? So of waiting. Okay, so it can have its own preposition. So this is a finite and a non-finite recap we have done. Okay, in the next session I'll be teaching you how to synthesize the statements into a simple statement. But for all these things, the must knowledge, the sine qua non thing for this thing is to know the verb finite and non-finite. Thank you.